Hello, thanks for tuning to another episode of The Spiritual Scientist. I'm Victor. Hey, thanks for checking me out. It's almost 80 degrees and it's 6:40 in the evening, so it's super hot right now. I'm like melting. So I just thought I'd do a video. A lot of people are messaging me interested in the last topic I brought up, and I thought I'd just answer everybody at once with a video, and that way you could refer to this. I've been a distance healer for, my whole life, really. Been a Reiki master for 25 years. And as the people who follow my channel know, I did healings for some people, and I started doing it more online. And then my friends now built me a website so other people could follow me, and it just kind of snowballed. So everything kind of snowballs. So the reason I mention it is because I have a blog on it and I write articles, and one of them I wrote years ago was about doing removing etheric alien implants, I said, or demonic implants or whatever, so on the etheric level. And I had shoulder surgery, so I was stuck at home. So what could I do with my time? I started doing more healings and really got into it, and then I got the information about doing implants because I came across them remotely, and I got into that. Anyway, I'll give you a little background. So the recently came across, it came into my awareness. You know, I'm very sensitive to what you could say timeline insertions or narrative insertions into our timeline, or Mandela effects, or whatever you want to call it. And I noticed that you could put a magnet on some of my friends. They'd put a magnet behind their ear and it would stick. So there's a magnetic field resonance there. So if you look at my other videos, I explain a little bit about chakras and frequencies within that. So this is all works together with all the other things that I've been saying in my other videos. So for people new to my videos and new to this to me kind of fits in with that, but I look at all different, you know, I'm open. So I try to stay open to information to see what makes sense. Is it an alien implant? Is it the government's taking people and inserting? Are people being taken at night? And I go through all these different, you know, scenarios, and I work it out, and I go through the in my own mind, and I said, well, if it was this, it would be this. And so what I came to right now, and this is my first day of research into it, about why people have a magnetic field that can stick behind their ear. For some of my friends, it sticks on both one side, the other one's another side, sometimes the back of the neck. I have one friend that is the forehead and one on the chest. So to me, that meant the chakras, and his friend's a Reiki master as well. So I said, okay, that kind of puts a pin in the map, so that kind of helps me understand that. So what this all the people have been saying for the past week, a week ago is when I had a more of a higher vibrational state, and that ended up raising the, just to be open about it, the Schumann resonance. So that ended up raising the Schumann resonance, and within that, a lot of people got headaches and were talking very sleepy. A week ago, everybody got sleepy in the middle of the day. I don't know what it is. Everybody's sleepy. It's because I was raising the Schumann frequency, you know, because I'm that way. So when that happened, a lot of people ended up assimilating that earth energy, and they ended up being magnetic. So you could look at it like a Mandela effect. So now some people are literally magnetic. So I have in my possession, I guess maybe right now, 15 pictures of different individuals with magnets sticking behind their ear. Now the reason the ear is a magnetic as I've done my own research, is because of the brain is now translating that magnetic wavelength, because the brain has been growing through Mandela effects. It's been growing larger so for instance, people now can close their eyes and they snap their fingers and they can now see the room without actually opening their eyes. So they get a feedback, and then they say, oh, okay, that's it. So now that's always been the case, right? No. So that's a timeline insertion, right? So these energetic states have changed the vibrational frequency of some people, where they're advanced enough to have the resonance to vibrate with that magnetic field. They're very empathic, and they can actually feel that magnetic fields with their brains, and that sympathetic vibrational response is making them magnetic. Boom, right? So I love that. You know, when I'm texting people, I could type in that little emoji, it goes boom, you know, it's a GIF. Anyway. So that's what's going on. So everybody's like, oh, now, so if you have, now, people are always like, want, you know, it comes from an egocentric point of view. I want to be magnetic now. You know, the people who have that magnetic resonance are getting headaches. I had something flying. So I did a couple energetic healings today to alleviate some of that quote unquote pressure. If you take a magnet and you put it right here on your third eye, what it does is that'll lessen the headache, because that's and one of my friends is sensitive, said it's pulling her, she feels like it's pulling her awareness forward a little bit. All the people, strangely enough, that I've been in contact with that have magnets that stick on them now have a magnetic personality. I feel drawn to them. So I'm like, you know, you're not just drawing magnets. I feel drawn to you. You're like cool. You know, so it's kind of interesting. There's a couple of people that have had this for a while, and one of my friends said that they were thinking about suing the government to have something removed. Now there's okay, so there's hard implants and there's etheric implants. So there's energetic implants, there's frequencies, there's implants, there's hard implants, there's negative implants. So there's different types, right? We don't want to just categorize and say there's one. So for instance, there's demonic, negative, angelic beings, you could say, quote unquote, like aliens, that will abduct someone from a young age, maybe their family, generational, they get into that vibrational, and then they'll usually put an implant in them. What that does, it transfers their etheric body energy back to them. So they're literally like vampiric. So they're sucking their energy, like an Archon being sucking their energy back to where they are, and they're feeding off that. And also they're running cyclic programs of you know, in negative loop things, trying to influence this vibrational pattern for their own negative agenda. So you get that. Usually the implants will be on the left side of the body, since there's a left-handed path, and they're left-handed. So you get on the bottom of the left foot, you get them on the left hand, you get them on the left side of the neck. These are all negative vibrational beings that are thriving off that negative chi. So what they're trying to do is they'll insert that vibrational field, and they'll take your they'll lower vibrational sense, and what they do is they go into the DNA. So your karmatic DNA is structurally compromised. They'll go into I just did I did 2 healings today, not a big deal, and then I did a scan for someone who has this today, and I said it's like, and I just get informational sense. I said that you got a 4-strand up to 8-strand. 8-strand is broken in the DNA segment, and it, to me, it seemed like an F reversed, with the top of the F is up. So I got that like a runic code that's transmitting to a higher level. Now, a lot of these type of demonic implants are booby trapped. So you'll have, you know, I'm very familiar. So they'll have negative fields around them, and if you screw with it, one feeds back to another negative, you know, alien implant, demonic implant, and then they, as things progress, as things, you know, as information progress, as the world gets more complicated, as the higher light beings forces get better tools for healing, you know, these things get worse tools for, so it's like a it's always like a spiritual war. So there's like right now in you know, like, oh, we have supersonic missiles, you know, they're saying, oh, well, you know, it's the same thing. So you'll have you know, newer weapons, newer ways of, you know, all this on you know, in demonic level. Now, these kind of hardwired implants, I think, could just be removed, but it's very difficult. I mean, I don't think you could remove them. I was saying, in the etheric level, I did that scan for somebody today on it, and afterwards I was in a negative state, and I was just wiped. I've been wiped like past hour and a half. I like no energy. It's like draining. And I was, you know, it's just like, and I said, you know, I had a message person, you know, I am so tired. And they say, oh, I get that a lot. They know, because that it's like all that vortex energy is being sucked to archons, you know. So anyway, I got a little bit off topic with talking about this, but to get back to that is different than the magnetic field resonances that we're now finding. You also have, and I have friends, a lot of friends that always have problems with electronic devices. So they make them go off. They make this go off, you know. Now, when you're on a higher state, you don't have that happen. But when you're trapped in a certain density between 3rd and 4th, you're going to have that happen. You're going to have those fields, you resonate in that magnetic field. And then, so what I would recommend is, well, what I would do in person is I would connect them to more of a higher source type, and then make sure they were grounded, and then you won't have that happen. So all these kind of things are, you know, like Tesla said, it's all vibration and frequency. So I know a lot of what I'm saying right now is probably going over people's heads, mostly, and I apologize. I actually have videos where I talk about more 5th dimensional quantum dynamics of 5th dimensional, you know, constructs of, you know, thought, and that goes way over everybody's head. And like, people are watching it, they tell me 2 or 3 times, and they trying to understand it. I'm trying to be more, speak on a common level, than if I was just throwing out vibrational frequencies and information, and then you'll be like, You know, some people catch it all, and then a lot of people are just like, they could watch my video for or whatever in person. You could hear me talking for 20 minutes, and none of it would make sense. You just hear almost, it would be all white noise to you. You know, it just wouldn't, you know, resonate with you. So you have to have the tools for it to resonate with you. If you don't have the eyes to see, none of this makes sense. It all sounds like hogwash, and that's okay. And you could say, hey, you could give me a thumbs down, I'm an idiot, that's fine. You know, I've been doing all this for, you know, 25 more years, so I have a lot of time put in to understanding all these kind of concepts. And I don't mean to just throw it out, but I'm trying to give information. I'm not talking about everything I know. I'm just trying to give you information so to lead people on the right path of what's going on. So for the people who are having a magnetic anomaly, they're having a phenomena where you could literally take a refrigerator, go back to the beginning, take a refrigerator magnet, and I have a friend that puts it on their forehead now, and they turn upside down, and it doesn't, you know, fall off. It's sticking to the forehead magnetically. I have friends that now take magnets and they put it behind their ears, and it's sitting there, and it's not removing, and they're upside down or whatever. It's not sticky. And I have another friend that it actually felt like it was snapping in at a certain point. So if it feels like you're snapping in, I would say that that sounds more like a heart implant, and that's different. Now, all about that. So if you have a heart implant, you know, I don't recommend playing with it. I don't recommend putting powerful magnets on it. This is a public service announcement. I do not recommend getting an MRI done. If you have a magnet inside of your body, then I don't recommend getting an MRI done, and neither would any doctor or nurse or medical practitioner. That's a big no-no. So if you find that you have a magnetic field, you know, that's a no-no. Now, I told the story many times, well, twice in my past 100-something videos, so maybe not many times. So when I was with Native American tribe, I did a sweat. I don't talk about the sacred things that go on a public video, so I'm not going to talk about that. I'm just saying I did a sweat. That's all I'm saying. I'm very respectful to all the sacred practices of the Native Americans, and I hope you respect that. If you ask me about it, I won't talk about it. But I'm just saying I did one, so I was very grounded, very earth, very spiritually attuned, you know, to the earth at that point. Chakras aligned, everything's awesome, right? Very, very grounded. That's what happens. So I went into, for instance, I talked about this before. So I went into a store soon after. I didn't feel like I wanted to go in the store. People were like, "Oh, let's go in the store." Like it was like I was away with, you know, I was made a member of the Native American tribe. I was up for 3 or 4 days up in the mountains, doing all this purifying. And when I walked into, you know, they have those bars. So they have those bars where they have, they could see if you're stealing things. They have an RFID sensors. So when I walked into that field, I felt the short go bzzz. So I felt it. I was like, ow. And then that, you know, hurt because I went through that field. And then I was like, ow. So I turned around, I walked back and walked forth, and it didn't hurt anymore. So I had that upgrade. I was sensitive to those RIF frequencies. And then I went through it and it zapped it. So it was like that higher spiritual vibration in my aura, you know, got zapped out by being back in the, you know, whatever you want to call it, the, you know, white man's world, in the world where, I don't want to say white man's world, but you know what I mean, in the world of all this greenbacks where everybody's into, you know, if you're walking into a place where they're worried about you stealing something, that's a low vibrational place to begin with, right? Yeah. So, it just goes to show. So that's why when it all dovetails, it all goes back to, 5G and all these lower frequencies. When you have these kind of lower frequencies, they lower you on a etheric psychic level where you don't even know it's happening, especially an insert RIF chip would be inserted to you. That's permanently lowering your frequency. Now, with alien implants, I don't know if I should talk about this, but maybe I will. So with that kind of an implant, what that's doing is anchoring you to one multiverse frequency. So you can't, like, it's not like you're escaping, so you can't like shift, right? So that's etherically centering you in one place. So even if you try to vibrate out and you're being brought back, probably this doesn't make sense. So please excuse me for going off on that tangent. But what I'm saying is that there is, lower frequencies, higher frequencies, and now it can be demonstrated that people have magnetic abilities, so they have a magnetic field, like Magneto, right, from the X-Men. But those people who have that magnetic, what I've discovered is those people are very empathetic, right? Now, that part of your brain has been upgraded to be very empathetic, so they actually feel others' vibrational field of magnetic resonance, and your heart has a big magnetic resonance, so they're actually vibrational in that vibrational field. So they're physically now connected. Now you could be connected on even a higher level, is what I've been saying. So you don't have to have a magnet sticking behind your ear and behind your neck or on your chest to be an empathetic being. What that is what I'm saying is you're basically stuck in between third and fourth density, right? So your energetic field after the last, I'll say it this way, after the last upgrade, their energetic fields are stuck in third and a half density instead of being all the way in fourth density. So with that third and a half density, that means that that's what's happening. So the people who have energetic fields that set off, they can't wear watches. Whenever they get in a car, it always has problems. It shorts out, literally blowing out light bulbs walking down the street. Those kind of vibrational patterns are, set up because you're at that certain density, but you haven't transcended that. So that's what I do. That's what I teach. So I do that through meditation. I do that through talking. I do that through people being around me, being into my vibrational field, being sympathetic to my vibrational state. Once you're a quote unquote follower, once you're into my vibrational state, since I'm above that higher, I'm at that higher vibrational state, then you have that sympathetic resonance, and then you move towards that different density where you don't have those issues anymore. So not trying to aggrandize myself, but if you find a spiritual teacher or guru, and I mean that in a pure sense, who is at that higher state and higher frequency, and then you get on quote unquote their wavelength, then these things, change. So you could say Jesus is my guru and Jesus is my guru, right? So you could say that and then, go off in your own thing, and that's cool. If you feel cool with me, then that's great. If whatever it is, I'm not trying to have a cult, like I always say. I'm so anti-cult. It's like I do mostly what I do distantly, by distance. I do most of the teaching. I could reach more people by video. I don't do it, in person. And that's cool. And then I have a website, Victor, Hamza.com. I say to people, hey, if you want to donate, you can donate. If you don't, you don't. It's not about that. But if anybody does want to donate, it's certainly needed, But I'm not, trying to, that's a lower density. That's like, I'm just trying to explain. Anyway, hopefully this all resonates with you, makes sense. That's what I understand so far. So the people who have that ability, that take a magnet, literally put it behind your ear and it sticks, right? You could call that a quote unquote Mandela effect. You can also call it a, I lost that train of thought, but you could call it a, a frequency modulation that's working again with the part of the brain that's now more advanced. So as we advance in energetic fields and densities, these take place, and the brain actually changes shape and everything else, right? So as that field opens up, some people are going to have that because they're stuck in a certain density, and they have that now. Maybe more people are going to get it right now as they energetically shift densities. That'll take different forms as we translate through multiverse shifts. You'll see that maybe this is all gone soon. If you vibrate into it and you pay more attention to it, it's probably something that's going to be more people are going to have that you'll notice. If you dismiss this and you say this is all malarkey, that can't happen, you're probably moving away from this as your awareness. It's like, I always think of it like a video game. So I played Horizon Forza, and you select a car in the game. Just an example, you select an SUV instead of a race car. You select an SUV. Slowly, as you play the game, there's more SUVs, and all of a sudden in the game, every car you see is an SUV. If you go back into the garage and you pick a race car, as you play the game, more cars are out there, race cars. If you pick a classic car, then it's the same thing. It's the same way in the way the universe is working. So if you go towards more of this as a informational field, you get more information. So for the people last night that I kind of discovered this, I said, I'll go into this, and I got into it today, and I got all this dense information about it. So I'm letting you know about it. And I can move away from it. I could get into it. That's the whole thing. And that's the way life is, right? So for people who, I said before in my last video, I think I said something about this. I said, Jesus say, people who live by the sword, die by the sword. Hello. If you meditate all day, then you'll meet more people that meditate. If you don't meditate all day, you're going to meet more people that don't meditate. It's kind of like that. It's like, like you talk to somebody, say, oh, I was just talking to my friend who was talking about meditation, and he knows this guy, and you're like, oh, so you're on that resonance frequency of that. So it's the same thing. So what I posted that And like I said, I have now, proof that there's that ability, and it's not actually that, now that I thought about it, it's not actually that surprising. You won't see kind of this information on the mainstream media. The ascension isn't something that's put out there in the mainstream media. It is, again, because they're trapped in a lower density, they're into, lower than the third density. They're into the second chakra, first chakra. They're all about survival mode and everything else. So, little mosquito flying at me. So, I just thought I'd explain all this. So, hopefully, this all resonates with you, makes sense. Please comment. I see sometimes 100 views, sometimes a few thousand views, sometimes not that many views, it's fine, but very few comments. And I enjoy the comments because the more people question things, the more that I look for the answers. So, certain things. So it might give me an idea. Wanted to answer this. This was very important. I'm glad I remembered. People are saying, oh, it's from vaccines. Okay. No, it's not. Having a vaccine and metal in the vaccine doesn't make you magnetic, and it doesn't make you magnetic in certain spots. Okay, it doesn't do that. It's impossible. The micro pictogram of that mercury being magnetic or whatever does not make you magnetic. Okay, so maybe I should have said this from the beginning for the people who wanted this information, because they don't have the ability to watch the whole video because they don't have the attention span. It's true. They don't have the attention span to make it 32 minutes into a video. They just don't. So, sorry. Almost feel like a racist make another video, but I gave out too much good information. So, if that's not the reason people are having magnets stick to them, is not because you got a shot. It's not because of 5G. Okay. Partly you could think of it maybe as because it's, all these lower frequencies keep higher density frequencies, lower frequencies, and trapped. You could think of it that way, but that's a very tough way to think about it. It gets pretty deep is what I'm saying, and I'd have to talk for another hour about that. The other thing that people are saying to me a lot is that, gosh, maybe they're dragged off and they're, alien implant. Like I described an alien implant before, and it's not that, okay? What are the other things people are commenting? A lot of people are saying it's from vaccines. I know vaccines are in people's minds and they're negative, but just because you have a vaccine doesn't make you magnetic. It's impossible. People are saying, oh, it's iron in the blood. The non-ferrous iron is in the blood. It's non-magnetic. It's impossible. It's not magnetic. People are commenting to me that it's magnetized. Oh, it must be the blood. Well, if it's in the blood, why isn't it over here? Why isn't it over here? Why is it all one spot? So that's a whole other video. I could say it's a certain spots, why it's behind the ear and here and here. I could talk for an hour about that. That's a whole other video, and I actually have the information about that. But I wanted to give this information out that I thought was important, and I think it's important. In general, people don't get MRIs, mostly. Maybe an X-ray, but stay away from all that. But definitely not, MRIs are not a good idea right now, where people are in an energetic sense. As vibrational states change, as people ascend into a higher vibrational state, I don't recommend getting, all these kind of things. So if you have something super important, you need an MRI, and you don't have any magnets stick to you, and don't worry about it. Now, people are saying, oh, the main thing people are saying, it's amazing. I said, it's not everybody that's going to have a magnet that sticks to them. And then, wow, it's like third density egoic response. They go, magnet doesn't stick to me. You're full of shit. And I'm like, well, here's 15 photos of people with it sticking to them. I'm not making this up. And then they go, well, it doesn't count for me, so it's all they acknowledge, which is weird. They go, okay, well, it's sticking to them, but it's not sticking to me, so I don't give a shit. Really? The biggest proof of people's different vibrational states ever in the history of mankind, and you could care less? Okay. Go away. You know, this should be like the biggest news ever, right? This should be like mainstream media. This should be like all over, that people have magnets and now can stick to them since last week. A lot of people are just finding this out because I posted about it, and they go, oh, it should be like boom, you know. But that's that narrow wavelength of perception that people are at. They just can't open themselves up. And then you know, the other thing is, I'll have you know, a couple theoretical physicists are you know, interested. I'll talk about it, I'll explain it to you, but you know, that I'm sure it's going to go over their head too. You know, for the people who are at that level where they're understanding what I'm saying, you know, from vibrational point of view, then it's all, you know, it all makes sense. It all works out, and it works out with all the other things I was talking about before. That's the cool part. So it works out where I was talking about the Schulman frequency. I talked about a little bit about ringing in the ears. I talked about that higher, you know, I talked about all this before. This is just another aspect of it. And, you know, again, you know, nobody understands what I'm saying. Nobody, you know, it's funny because if I was talking about something that was a lower density field, then it'd be super popular. But then I wouldn't be who I am, right? So if I was talking about cars, if I had a video channel talk about cars, and then people understand cars, then they'd all be like, oh, you know, and everybody could relate. These are things that people just can't seem to relate to. They can't conceive, they can't conceptualize, and that's the way it is. So I'm here trying to illuminate a little bit, to trying to alleviate some of that worry, and I want to shed a little bit light on it, and I want to give a public service announcement about MRIs and such. And you know, people are worried about things, so, and I don't want people to worry. Anyway, like, subscribe, share. I have my crystal ball out today. I was going to do meditation, so I'll ring out the video. Thank you.